JKB back with another video, love buddies. Thanks for watching the video, love you buddies. Today I'm going to be talking about Division. I'm going to be talking about the Division, and I am not let down, that's for sure. I know a lot of people are on Twitter and Facebook at the moment going like, it's boring, it's so boring, and all the graphics aren't good. How long did you play it? 15 minutes. Oh, fuck me. Really? You're gonna rate the whole game based on 15 minutes. You're gonna rate this 60 or maybe even 80-hour MMO in 15 minutes. That's just not how video games work. So if you see people online complaining about The Division right now, I think maybe you should ask them how long they played it. Because if it is, you know what? If it's over 10 hours and they still think it's boring, then that's cool. That's their opinion. I definitely don't feel that way. Now, the first thing I noticed in this fucking game was the graphics, boys. Not as good as the 2013 demo we saw at E3, but it's still pretty fancy, in my opinion. I love the fact that you've got all these ice puddles on the ground, and you get the actual reflections in them. I know a lot of video games have a tough time reflecting the world in the windows and whatnot, and I know Watch Dogs had some sort of, people had issues in Watch Dogs with the shitty atmosphere effects in the windows and all that crap. So in the technical sense, they really, I think, looked at past mistakes and said, we need to fix these. If we're going to do an open world game, we need to make it seamless, and they definitely nailed that. Here's where I have to bring up some sort of debate, because half the people I talk to say the mechanics feel great. The other half feel like it's loose, and I think that it has to do with what we're used to and what we expect. So this game comes out, and we're all expecting a first-person shooter, essentially, or I think people are confusing it with the idea that this is supposed to be a realistic shooter. I don't actually think it's supposed to be realistic. I think it's supposed to be a little bit, MMO-ish. It's supposed to be grindy. It is definitely grindy, so I'll bring that up right now. You will do a ton of grinding. In terms of how much grinding you'll do, the whole game is grinding. But there's so much going on around it, and there's so many aspects happening as you're playing, you don't realize you're grinding. You're just constantly doing the same thing over and over. The technology is what's going to drive you to keep playing The Division, and also the online, seamless online, I should say, because there's some technology in this game that I've never seen in an MMO on consoles. Seamless integration of the open world into a complete, I can't stress this enough, like a complete MMO in the Dark Zone, which I'll talk about at the end of the video. It really is spectacular to be able to just jump in and out of co-op in the single-player campaign. Lots of lovebirds asked me about buildings, and I'll tell you, boys, you can go into quite a few of them, but, I mean, am I disappointed with the amount of interaction with inside the buildings? No, not really. I think there's enough in the beta, at least. In the final game, are we going to have enough? That's a question I can't answer, but in the beta, you go into Madison Square Garden. Sometimes you're on the side of like a fire escape on a building, and there's a window open, and you mysteriously just sort of like find it. It's sort of a secret, I guess you can call it. There are moments where you go on rooftops. One of the coolest things was going on top of a gas station. At a gas station that has that sort of like tarp that covers the whole gas station. There was some dude camping on top of it, so it was this moment of realizing, like, holy shit, you can get onto those things? Like, I didn't even know that. This is in Madison Square Garden, buddies, and it's the first mission you come across in the game. This is the field hospital that they initially used to save everybody in New York, and now a bunch of thugs have taken it over. It's your job to go in and basically rescue the staff, the hospital staff, and I thought, this plays a lot like Splinter Cell, plays a little bit like Watch Dogs. It's got aspects of basically every Ubisoft game in it. And the cover system, I haven't even talked about it yet, is probably the best cover system I've seen in any of their games. It's really, really, really well thought out. You can go to the next sort of cover angle by holding down the A button, and your character will automatically run right up to the cover and put you into a safer position. Here you can see the abilities. You have two different slots. You've got your RB and your LB. This is where you will put your abilities, and as the game goes on, you can upgrade your abilities, unlock new abilities. So for instance, I've got sort of a mini rocket launcher which puts a sticky bomb onto people, and I feel that there's so much potential in this, and I can't wait to see what really comes of it. This is the Dark Zone, and this is the best aspect of the Division. I was playing in a group, and we came across another squad, and you could see all these players on screen right there. Those are real players who are just walking around this open world, trying to get loot out of the Dark Zone, and it's one of the best modes I've ever played in an MMO or an online game on console. Now on PC, this is, I hear it's mind-blowing. I can't talk about that yet because I haven't experienced it. Hopefully I will be able to do that before the review comes out, but in terms of a console, there are things you've never seen a console do. For instance, go from the single-player co-op missions and whatnot and walk right through a door with no loading into the Dark Zone, and all of a sudden every player around you is no longer an AI character. They're real. They're real players who you can talk to, and the voices come out of your TV. So if you have a headset on, you'll hear somebody sort of in the distance, you know, you'll hear them talking, and as you get closer to them, it gets louder and louder, and you realize, like, holy shit, these are real players? Where am I? And that's your first experience in the Dark Zone. Now, in my opinion, the best part of the whole game is extracting all of the loot that you get in the Dark Zone. So to explain it on simple terms, because it's very confusing when you start this game, I'm not going to lie, you are so confused on what's going on because there's so many cool things happening, but you have no idea what's going on. So you've got extraction zones. You'll see on the mini-map in the top left corner, it's sort of orange. You go to those sections after you've collected loot from other players who have either gone rogue, which I'll explain in a second, or AI characters that you've taken down and gotten, you know, picked up loot from. You've got a backpack on your back, which has all of your bombs and, you know, ammo and stuff. But on top of that, you'll see those little packages that they're putting onto the helicopter. Those are packages of dirty loot. Now, in the game, you've got a virus that's basically killing everybody in New York. And in the Dark Zone, they haven't cleaned it up completely. So all of the loot that you collect in the Dark Zone is contaminated, and you have to send it out via helicopter to use it in the game. And it ends up in your stash. So think about this, guys, for a second. You've got loot that's dirty. You got to take it out via helicopter. But then you have other players that can shoot you and take your loot packages. And this is where the game is, like, mind-blowing. This is where it gets so intense. And this is why I honestly think it's my most really anticipated game of the year. I am so happy with what I have played in this. And the Dark Zone is the best MMO experience I've ever had on console, period. Does the rest of the game live up to that? The story mode? I don't know. That's what we'll have to wait for in a few months. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll be back with a full review of this in March. I really appreciate it if you can, you know, like it, send it out to your uncles, your aunts, tell them to watch the video. You know what I'm saying, guys? You know, get your grandma in the room. Get her to retweet it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you played the beta, and let me know how you feel about it. I'm really in love with it, so I'm excited.